Hi guys. So, your final task of the term, and this might take you more than one lesson to get through it, so I won't set the deadline until um, Friday, is to do a bit of creative writing. And that bit of creative writing I want to be inspired by the Prelude by William Wordsworth. The outline of the task. So, your final task this term is to write a narrative of a time when you were confident, but then something went wrong. So, just like Wordsworth was in the poem that we read the other day, he steals a boat, goes out on the lake, and then he has a kind of a nightmare experience because he gets scared. You can use the extract from the Prelude as your inspiration. So basically, you could basically tell that story again in your own words, or you can use your own life experience, or as you'll see in a minute, I've got a whole load of suggestions that you might want to use or be inspired by as well. Whatever you do, make sure you use your imagination to make your real life story more dramatic. So it should be real life. It should be kind of within the realms of normality. So I don't want like aliens coming in or kind of zombies attacking and all that kind of stuff. Kind of real life, autobiographical, but you can add some imagination to give it a bit more flavour, a bit more excitement. And in terms of what I'm looking for in your writing, I want to see detailed descriptions of places and people. So really paint pictures with your words. I would like to see a build-up of tension or the feeling of terror coming through, just like in Wordsworth's poem, that kind of the way he describes the mountain and that kind of crag just terrifying him. So some kind of really emotional kind of effect like that in your writing. I would like to see a range of language features. The shampoo list, I'll go to that in a moment with you as well to remind you what that is. And obviously, you've got to make sure you're writing in paragraphs. You've got to make sure you get your punctuation as good as possible. And spelling should be as accurate as you can make it. So with that all kind of dealt with, let's look at some possible ideas. So, it's always hard to come up with an idea for a story, so if you haven't got anything that springs to mind, this is what these are things that came to my head when I set this task. So you could write about a school sporting event when you thought you were going to win, but you didn't. So you're that kind of really kind of confident start, followed by some kind of mishap or problem, or you kind of got your tactics wrong or something. That could be good. Second one, an exam that you thought you'd pass easily, because again, your best subject, you revised hard, but then it turns out that you revised the wrong topics and the exam paper was not what you'd prepared, and you had to kind of fluff your way through it. Third option, could be based on what you did last week, going for a walk, getting lost, and the weather turning nasty, so there's an opportunity to really describe that weather change there, and the landscape, and the kind of panic or the fear that you might have got as things get darker and horrible and cold and miserable. Fourth option, potentially being left at home because you're too old for a babysitter, but then you get scared because either you hear a strange noise or there's a power cut or you just end up kind of spooking yourself out because you're at home alone and you've got no one to kind of reassure you that it's all fine. Finally, my fifth idea, again, kind of as you're getting a bit older, you might be out late at night in town, getting dark, but you lose your friends and your phone battery dies, and it's like, oh, how do you get home? What are you going to do in that situation? So those are all kind of real life possible ideas, but your imagination can make them more exciting and more interesting. Okay, so those are some things to think about if you haven't got anything coming to mind. I did say I was going to talk you through shampoos, and here it is now. So this is a quick reminder: simile, hyperbole, alliteration, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, oxymoron, and senses times 5. So those are the things that really bring your writing to life. Those features, those techniques will make your writing shine and stand out and engage the reader. I'm not suggesting you do all of those, but if you get a handful of them into your writing, then your writing will really stand out and it'll raise itself to a much higher level. You don't need to change the idea, but change the way you tell it. That's the key. And these techniques will make your writing better. Okay, so just before you get started, I just want to highlight the mark scheme that we'll be using for this. So there it is in the green, but you can zoom in on this top section here. This is this bit here. And you can see here basically what we're aiming for. Half marks is the kind of the minimum expectation. We're always trying to get more than half marks. So half marks requires you to have a piece of writing that is interesting and basically throughout the piece. It keeps being interesting from start to finish. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to be kind of keeps the reader engaged for most of the piece of writing. It needs to have a decent structure using paragraphing to make everything kind of clear and understandable. And there should be some evidence of the text being written in an appropriate style and register. So if it's as it's a narrative, you need to have kind of storytelling features in your writing. To push that up to the higher level, these upper levels here, again, it's about keeping that reader engaged using a range of devices. That's where shampoos really helps, because that gives you a range of devices to push your quality higher. And if you're getting your shampoos in, you're keeping your structure sensible, then you're going to be that's going to help me give you level 4 kind of marks. So that's the kind of where we're trying to pitch our piece of writing today. The other set of marks that's available is for your accuracy. Now, the way in which your accuracy score works is kind of in 3 areas. So, again, half marks, you've got to make sure that your vocab's interesting. So, try and upgrade your vocabulary. Use better words than you would have used at primary school. If you notice it using boring words, especially for colours, for example, like the word red, use a better word like scarlet or ruby. Okay, rather than using green, you can use emerald or jade. Use interesting ways to do colours. That's a good way into kind of demonstrating better vocab. Then you've got your mainly accurate spelling and your range of punctuation and sentence structures. So think about that really carefully. If you're only using full stops and capital letters, then you're not going to be able to get level 3 here. You need to get your commas in there, your speech marks in there, your exclamation points, question marks, all those kinds of brackets, colons, semicolons. Try it out. Try and get a range into your writing. Okay, it'll help you get higher marks. If you want to push it on further, it's all about how much variety you get and how consistent you are. So that vocabulary has to be wide. Your spelling is going to be accurate. Wide range of punctuation, in a way that's creating an effect. So you're not actually you're actually creating an impact with your punctuation, and your sentence structures, again, creating a sense of a variety of effects. So you're not just starting with the same words or phrases. So don't just keep sentences starting with the word the or at or then. Use a simile starter. Use an ing verb or a preposition. Try and play around with your sentence structure to be a little bit more interesting. Fronted adverbials is the buzzword, and that's a good way into this to kind of really demonstrate a range of different sentence structures. Don't do it all the time, just have a mixture, just do a bit of this and a bit of that. Okay, when you're ready and you think you know what you're doing, you can pause this video, and like I said, this task is probably going to take you more than one lesson, so you've got this for the rest of the week to complete, and I'll set the deadline for the end of Friday. So plenty of time to write your narrative about a time when your confidence kind of let you down and something went really, really wrong. Okay? Good luck, guys. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Take care.